Hello, it's myself, Shot1, and welcome back to another Call of Duty Black Ops 3 video. If you haven't seen my previous video, there'll be a link in the top left of my screen somewhere, and it'll say previous video, and you click it. It should be the Shadows of Evil review comparing to Transit. So, this is basically the review for multiplayer. I'm playing hardcore. No, I'm not playing hardcore in this game. I'm playing core in this game with, I was just getting the combat knife through the challenges because it was a pain in the ass. And basically I was playing a mix between core and hardcore for my knife to get the dark matter camo. Anyway, moving on from that, this is the game where I got a mothership with a knife, so I thought I'd use that as background while we talk about Call of Duty multiplayer this year. So multiplayer this year, there's a lot of new physics. I know Advanced Warfare had their exosuits with the like power jumping, power thrust forward, stuff like that, blah. That's Advanced Warfare, don't care about that game. Moving on, talking about Black Ops 3 here. Black Ops 3 has obviously got the hasn't got exosuits. We have augmentations, as they're going to call it in this game, where basically your limbs and that are replaced with cybernetics and controlled with the DNA that's connected to your spinal cord and down the back of your neck to your brain and stuff like that. Basically, it's the year in this game was meant to be designated around about 2065 to 2070. A lot of people will say, what, 2070? Where are you going with that? If you actually played the campaign, you'll understand the part where they actually made the DNA for your character. It took 5 years. Didn't really explain it that much that it took 5 years to do that. It just says in the description 5 years later, and that was it. So if you haven't played the campaign, then multiplayer is based somewhere between 2065 and 2070. I think it's more 2070, but who cares? Moving it back onto the multiplayer subject. Anyway, so multiplayer, as you can see, has a lot of new things and a lot of new features this year. So the HUD's a lot smoother than previous Call of Duties, I think. I think there's still some improvements they could do. As always, the HUD in Call of Duties, like, just decent, I would say. Connections in multiplayer. Now, in Core, from what I played on Core, the connections are pretty good. It seems like a semi-dedicated servers, and I don't really get much lag considering my internet speed is a pile of shit on its best day. And by pile of shit, I mean like 3 megabyte download speed. So, anyway, moving on from that. Actually, no, it won't be megabyte, by the way, megabit, but yeah, you get my idea. Moving on from that, it's pretty balanced and pretty stable multiplayer compared to previous Call of Duties. Now, Advanced Warfare, there was a gun. I can't remember what it is because I didn't have Advanced Warfare. You already know this, guys. If you don't, then now you do. There was a couple of guns that were designated OP weapons, and everyone would use those few guns. Now, in this game, the gun sets in multiplayer seem to be a lot more balanced. There's no one gun. Every other gun seems to be able to defeat the other one. But that's not saying, oh, they're all the same damage. Actually, it's actually saying they're all different. They are all different. You've got fast-firing guns like the Vesper and the VMP, which are like high DPS. And then you've got like slow firing guns like the Shiva and the Gorgon, which are a 2-shot kill, and one's fully automatic, and they're pretty decent guns, but they can all be outdone by fast fire rate guns or even medium fire rate guns. This game's a lot more, it's come down to a lot more angles, latency. That's definitely a thing in this game, because the 100 millisecond latency is still there in this game. You can see it, and like it's kind of annoying sometimes. You can like see it because like sometimes you'll have your aim right on the person and it will miss because 100 millisecond latency. Technically, a lot of people don't understand this either. A 4-bar connection is technically a 3-bar because according to this game, anything below 100 millisecond ping is a 4-bar connection. With the default 100 millisecond latency built into the game for lag compensation, or bullshit compensation as I would call it, so everyone gets a fair chance, which just creates a kind of like a spaz chance, to be honest, because you can exploit the system pretty easily. Basically, it's a very weird system. Anyway, long story short, you can actually end up with a 3-bar even though it says 4-bar, because you have the 100 millisecond default latency in the game, then you have your actual ping. So, most pings on the average, some players have amazing internet connection, and will have a ping of like fucking 3. Some players, on the other hand, like me, will have a ping around about 32 or 50, depending on where or who I've connected to, or what server I've connected to, or whatever. But normally it's around about a 32 for me. So basically it's actually saying I've got 132 millisecond ping, instead of 100 millisecond or below 100 millisecond ping, so technically it'd be classed as a 3 bar. Because of like conversations, it says 4 bar. But anyway, moving on from that, multiplayer in the connections status and that, everyone seems to stay on the 4 bar quite easily, so that's a good thing. It's very stable most of the time. The hardcore servers are still player versus player hosted. I think the core are too, but it's done slightly differently than normal because there's a lot less lag in core when I've been playing it than there is in hardcore. The servers seem to be different. Um, but it's a lot of fun, this game. It's a lot more momentum based, there's a lot more fast paced action than previous Call of Duties. Um, the jumping system and the wall run system has been perfected a lot more, and it actually like clinks to the walls a lot more than it used to in the beta. Because I remember in the beta having a lot of issues where players were saying, "Oh, I'm jumping on the wall," and it's instantly falling off. Now that's kind of like gone now. There's a lot less of that happening, so they've kind of like perfected the system a bit more. It's never going to be perfect though, like nothing ever is. You can't ask for perfect because nothing's perfect. Um, but anyway, moving on from that, the score streaks in the game are actually a lot of fun. They're not too hard to obtain. It's still on a score-based score streak system, not a kill-based. So basically, it's get enough points, you end up with enough score streaks or whatever you need. Um, Basically, I would say it's a very decent multiplayer. I managed to get to Master Prestige before like Christmas back. So it's been a while. I've been Master Prestige a while now actually because I'm like 100 level 20 something. But this is a pretty old gameplay to be honest. But pretty much the game itself in multiplayer general is actually been pretty smooth. There's a lot of new perks introduced. Like for example, you'll see orange footprints all around the map. It's kind of a newbie perk. I'm going to say that myself. And it's called Tracker. Basically, Tracker, and don't ask why that person was standing still, side step. Anyway, basically Tracker shows the footprints of the enemy's position and where they've been. So you can follow those footsteps, and eventually you should get to the person if you don't get killed or they die. Because as soon as they die, the footprints disappeared. People are like, oh, that's OP. Yeah, I would see it as OP actually. I would agree with you there. But if you're using, I think it's hardwired, I think it is, that will lower your footprints, like how far the enemy player can see your footprint, because it shortens the distance, makes them disappear faster, so basically makes what is it, Tracker useless. I forgot what it perk, for some reason I thought it would call fleet-footed for some reason, I don't know why. But anyway, as you can see, this is the mothership, so this is the highest score streak you can get right now. And it's actually not that powerful, to be honest. Like, Flat Jacket actually protects you from it because it's classed as explosive bullets, but you don't really see any explosions on the ground from this point of view. Something at the time I didn't notice or forgot on how to do, because I did it in the beta but I didn't do it here, was you could press X and you could actually use the thermal sight in the air, and you'll actually see registered like thermal positions of players. So if they had blind eye on or something, and they didn't have cold-blooded, you'd still be able to see them even if they don't get a red diamond on them. And that guy just got his fucking balls blown up. Anyway, so moving on, the RCXD is returned in this game. It's called a HCXD this time. It's hover-controlled remote explosive device or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, pretty much, it's still a car, still goes boom. If you know this is a reference from the campaign, outcome, cargo boom. Anyway, moving on from that. The multiplayer, like I said, very stable. It's a lot better than previous Call of Duties, in my opinion. A lot of new players to Call of Duty this year, and a lot of players who've come back to Call of Duty this year, I've noticed, so a lot of people are out of practice. So I can do and get like a lot of really good players and average players can actually get random ass good games where they freaking destroy, and then other games where they don't do so well. Anyway, it's coming to the end of the video, and to be honest, I'm going to rate Call of Duty's multiplayer this year and about an 8 out of 10 for the multiplayer, so that makes it 9 out of 10 for zombies, 8 out of 10 for multiplayer. The 8 out of 10 is because the servers still aren't perfect, and with the 100 millisecond latency, it kind of like makes some errors with your like what you see actually happening and what the other player sees happening, and it kind of really gets on some players' nerves that are hardcore Call of Duty fans. But anyway, I would say it's an 8 out of 10 for Call of Duty multiplayer. Sorry I didn't really go into too much detail description, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment above more.